Cornhuskers move to the pommel horse, and UCLA will be on the rings in the second rotation. Penn State on the floor. Kevin Davis ready now for his attempt at the pommel horse event.
And Davis is very strong on the pommel horse. Look at this work. Nice job as he travels across the horse in a flared position. He has very clean form. Good smooth transition up to the handstand. So far this exercise is right on. There's his scissors. Travel to the end. And perfect handstand dismount.
Junior Kevin Davis, the All-American from Nebraska, happy with his performance.
This is probably the most difficult part of his exercise. Notice as he does flares, he's going to travel across the horse, but notice he's not using the pommels. That takes a great deal of body elevation above the horse.
A 9.7 for Kevin Davis of Nebraska. And ready to go on the rings for UCLA, sophomore Michael Chaplin, who's had a fine season on the rings, Bart.
He's very strong. Notice here, perfect position in a front lever. There's an L and a plunge, a straddle plunge, pressed to a handstand. Now he's going to swing with a move that's called a whip it and a swing to a handstand. There's a giant. Now he's a little loose in the handstand. He's got to tighten up if he doesn't want to give away valuable tenths of a point. Now that was a nice move. That was called a double whip it swing to a handstand. He's a little loose in the handstand there. But there's a nice laid out double somersault.
Good finish for Michael Chaplin of UCLA. And support from the Bruin partisans here at Poly Pavilion. A 9.6 for Michael Chaplin. We're looking now at Spider Maxwell of Penn State, and his proud mother Regina Maxwell is here at Poly Pavilion. It's been a big week for Spider. Not only did his Nittany Lions make the final three, but he came back from a serious injury a year ago in which he temporarily lost the feeling in his right arm to win the gymnastics version of the Heisman Trophy, the Nissen Award, which goes to the top senior student athlete.
Winning the Nissen Award was absolutely fantastic, probably one of the greatest thrills of my life. But just being nominated for it with the other 6 guys was really made gymnastics all worth it.
And so here is Spider Maxwell ready to go on the floor exercise.
Oh, and a very nice full twisting double back mount. Very crisp and clean in the air. Here's his second tumbling run, which is a very high double twisting backflip and a front 1 1/4. Actually, these last 2 tumbling runs haven't been all that difficult, but where Spider gets his points is by doing everything very cleanly, good rhythm, and he gives way to no deductions to the judges. Now that's a neat move. That's called a full twisting side somersault. And once again, like all the other gymnasts, Spider is doing a scale in the corner to make sure that he's fulfilled the balance requirement and to catch his breath before he does his last tumbling run. Nice clean double twist.
Spider Maxwell from Penn State, he's a great competitor, and Mama thinks it was just fine. Coach Carl Shire encouraging his Penn State upstarts at this point. 9.65 for Spider Maxwell. So not a great score for him, but nonetheless, the Penn State Nittany Lions still in the thick of it after 2 rotations. Nebraska is the leader, UCLA in second place. A beautiful day at the University of California in Los Angeles. Tim Ryan with Bart Connor. We are here at the Poly Pavilion on the campus at UCLA, where the Bruins are battling Nebraska and Penn State for the national championship in the men's gymnastics competition. Nebraska with a narrow lead over UCLA, and the Cornhuskers move to the rings. We're looking now at Ian Shelley of Penn State, and his mom Janet made her first flight ever all the way from Southampton, England, with his dad to be here to watch their son compete for the national championship with his teammates.
Ian is actually very good on the pommel horse. He's doing work back and forth across the pommel horse without using the pommels. There's a flare to a handstand. 2 scissors. He has very long arms and good extension above the horse. Clean routine.
Fine performance by Ian Shelley, and he likes it. So do his Nittany Lion teammates. Good effort by Ian Shelley, the English import at Penn State, and he is rewarded with a 9.8 on the pommel horse. Now moving to the rings where Tom Schlesinger for Nebraska, who has a very consistent style in all of the events.
And the duo of Tom Schlesinger and Kevin Davis is proving to be a very strong one for Nebraska. I don't think this is actually Tom's best event. He gets off to a decent start with a kip and a press to a handstand, a nice inverted cross, a double whippet. He's very clean, but he doesn't do the most difficult exercise. He needs to show better control in a strength move like the planche there. But then once he gets into the handstand position, he has good line and he's very solid. I think the point is that his exercise is good and it's very clean. It's not the most difficult one, but now that's a nice dismount. A piked, full twisting double back.
Tom Schlesinger of Nebraska coming off the rings here. And meanwhile, there's a conference by the judges down on the floor. So while we have this opportunity, let's go now to Ann Butler and Kathy Johnson for a report on the women's individual competition.
We are in Salt Lake City, Utah for the NCAA women's individual and all-around competition. Remember the name, Kelly Garrison Steeves. She's a sophomore from the University of Oklahoma, and she's this year's all-around winner. Here turning in a 9.6 on the vault, Kathy Johnson.
The all-around combines the scores of all four disciplines: vault, uneven bars, balance beam, and floor exercise. And Kelly doesn't have a weak event.
Here proving her form with a 9.7 on the uneven parallel bars.
Now, Kelly's best event is balance beam, although she did have a fall from this event.
But that was still good enough for a 9.25, and that was good enough for her to walk away with it all. So, Kathy, are we likely to see Kelly in '88 at the Olympics?
And it's very possible. Kelly has been a strong member of our national team for several years, and in fact competed in world championships many times. She's looking stronger than ever and adding difficulty to all of her routines. So it's very possible we might see her in '88.
And as far as the individuals were concerned, other names moved into the forefront. Like Yumi Mordre from the University of Washington, the first ever to win 2 NCAA individual titles. First here with a 9.5 performance on the vault.
This was an incredible vault. Handspring front pike with a half twist.
And Yumi followed that right up with a stellar 9.65 on the balance beam. And then there was the University of Georgia's Lucy Weiner, who took home her second straight title on the bars with a 9.7. But the woman who stole the show was a freshman from UCLA named Kim Hamilton.
She was magical on this event. She had perfect landings on all her tumbling passes. Pike double back. She has very original choreography. More importantly, though, she has the audience in a spell. Here's your second tumbling run, a tuck double, perfect landing again.
And later on, toward the end of her routine, she really poured it on.
Notice all the good landings on the tumbling passes. Now watch his triple turn. Perfect execution. Performance quality is superb.
What a sparkling finish by UCLA's Kim Hamilton, who certainly captured the imagination of this crowd. Salt Lake City, Utah is on its feet. And she's also captured the highest score ever on the floor. And the crowd went crazy. What did you do?
I cried. I was so happy. And I was glad that everybody else thought my performance was great, too.
So congratulations to Kim Hamilton. She's off to a great start in her first year at UCLA. And we'll be back with the team competition later on.
Back at Poly Pavilion at UCLA, where Tom Schlesinger of Nebraska was awarded a 9.6 for his performance on the rings. And the Bruins crowd barked pumped up for Tony Pineda. Mr. Excitement now on the floor.
And he is so explosive. Let's look at his first run. Look at that. A laid-out double somersault, and the guy lands standing straight up and down. That's tough. Look at how quick he is on a front through to a double tuck. Here's the flares. Now a little break dancing. Back up to his splits.
Don't forget, this guy's already got a 9.9 on the pommel horse. And when he fell off the rings in the compulsories, his coach Art Sherlock had to kind of give him a little pep talk and say, hey, shake that off. Tomorrow's another day.
He's the kind of gymnast that's very hot and cold. And when he is on, he is really on. So far, this exercise is excellent. You know, he's getting ready for his last tumbling run. Good speed. Oh, a laid out double somersault. Tim, I don't know why he tried that. An unnecessary risk, I think. You know, this is the kind of move that can gain you maybe a tenth or two more, but it's not worth the downside, which of course is that, and a low score of 9.3, especially in a team competition.
Not only that, Bart, looks like he might have hurt himself. Well, Neil Palmer now approaches the rings for Nebraska, and he's an interesting guy, this senior. Not only is he an outstanding athlete, but he's also a musician, plays the saxophone, and has somewhat of an unusual ambition for a gymnast. He thinks he can play pro football. His idol is not someone like Bart Connor. Instead, it's Chicago Bears defensive tackle Dan Hampton. Now, Palmer doesn't have any plans of playing in the middle of the line, but he thinks he might be a defensive back, and he says that gymnasts are tough enough to do it.
There's a lot of things gymnasts do that football players don't do. They don't stand 25 meters away from a vaulting horse and run full speed and get up and go over a vaulting horse that isn't going to move. And they also don't ever miss a release move off the high bar where you're coming down from 10 feet in the air straight onto your stomach. So gymnasts get some contact. Gymnasts are in a sport where they can get hurt just as easily.
All right, Neil Palmer. Now he's on the rings here, the only senior on this team, and knowing that Nebraska had won 5 championships in a row until 1984, trying to provide them with some leadership here as they attempt to win after coming second 2 years in a row, Bart.
And as you mentioned, Tim, he's a very big guy, and generally the big guys have a rough time controlling themselves on the still rings. He seems to be very solid, and the exercise is clean. It's not a very difficult exercise. That section in the middle of the routine is a little bit on the weak side. But now it's a good clean handstand. Giant swing to a full twisting double. Very good dismount.
Neil Palmer from Nebraska, and the red-shirted Cornhusker fans enjoy his performance. It draws him only a 9.5, however. And so the standings at the midway point of this men's championship, Nebraska the leader, but UCLA and Penn State right behind. Welcome back to Pauley Pavilion. We're halfway through these NCAA men's gymnastics championships, and you can see Nebraska with a narrow lead, 0.5 of a point ahead of UCLA and Penn State, tied for second place. And I guess, Bart Connor, the surprise has to be Penn State, because they had to squeak into this final 3, and here they are very much in contention.
Yeah, in fact, they pulled up even with UCLA in the 3rd round by having a terrific performance on the pommel horse. They were very solid and very consistent there. Now, UCLA is inspired. They are very hot, but as I said at the top of the show, much of this is riding on Tony Pineda. He had a terrific start on pommel horse with a 9.9, went to still rings with a 9.55, but he really blew it on floor exercise by trying an unnecessary risky element at the end of his routine, scoring only a 9.3. He's got to hold it together if they're going to be able to challenge the very consistent Nebraska. Nebraska has been very level-headed and very solid all the way throughout the performance. No unbelievable routines, but no major breaks either.
So in this 4th rotation, Nebraska will move to the vault. UCLA will be on the parallel bars, and Penn State will be on the high bars. Coach Francis Allen of Nebraska, boy, does he want this one. Let's see what Patrick Kirksey will do for him here on the vault.
Okay, he has good speed, half-half front, oh, and shorter rotation. Now that's going to be a major deduction. Now keep in mind that in this competition, the teams put up 6 performers in each event. They have to count the best 5 scores. So an 8-7, they can throw that score up, but they got to count all 5 others.
So it may not hurt them, assuming they have a better score later. Now let's see how Mario Gonzalez does for Penn State on the high bar.
Mario's a big kid, and he has a nice long swing. Those straddle giant swings are called stallers.